Hi, my name's Johnny, and today we're shooting out 3 basses to see which one stands as the best value precision bass. I never used to be a P-bass guy, or P bass. I never used to be a P-bass guy. Always loved jazz basses. I never saw the reason for a P. Why would I have a P when I can have a J? But now I cannot get away from P-bass tones. Just sits so well in any mix and in any genre. I know I love it because now 3 of my 4 basses have split P-bass pickups in them. Now these are all affordable basses, but slightly different price points below the 400 mark. So I thought we'd take a look at which one holds up the best and is the best value for money. First up, we have the Squier 60s Classic Vibe. Next up is the SX P-bass copy. And last but not least, maybe, is the Ibanez TMB 100. I have gone into more detail into each bass in separate videos, so make sure you hit like and subscribe and go and check out those videos too. Now, to make this as fair comparison as possible when it comes to the sound, I have used the same set of strings across all 3 basses. Before we get into the sounds, it's worth mentioning a few things. The Squier, this has Fender original P-bass pickups in it. Click up in the cards to see my video comparing the stock pickups to these new ones. Don't think that, oh, well, you know, the Squier's going to sound the best because it's got the Fender pickups in it. Not the case. They are very close to the stock pickups that come with it. Another thing is, obviously, the Ibanez is a PJ configuration. Now, I'll take that into account later on when we're talking about value and versatility, but for the purposes of this sound test, we're not going to listen to the J pickup, just the P. Anyway, let's jump right in and take a listen to what these sound like back to back. Okay, it's number crunching time. So I'm going to be rating these out of 5. Now, if I give something a 5 out of 5, that doesn't mean it's the best thing in the world. That just means that it's the best in relation to these 3. It's all relative. So, first up, sound. The SX and the Squire sound pretty similar. I think the SX is a bit muddier than the Squire, and the Ibanez is definitely the most different sounding out of those two, out of the three, which I think is its downfall. I don't really like the sound of those pickups. It's always thinner and a bit whinier, shall we say? Yeah, we'll say it's a bit whinier. So, in terms of sound, we're going to give the Squire a 5. SX we're going to give a 4, and the Ibanez I'm going to score 2. Versatility. So, we said before that we're not going to listen to the jazz pickup on the TALMAN, but I think it's worth mentioning that obviously that does offer you another kind of plate of sounds. It gives you more sounds to work on in your tonal palette. So we're going to give the Ibanez a 4 for versatility. The other two, they sound great, but it's very much just your tone knob which is going to give you different sounds, and that's really, really bright or not very bright. So not very versatile, but still great sounding. So we're going to give the Squire and an SX 2 each. Next up is the neck. The Squire is the most comfortable for me. It's not as fat as a standard P-bass neck. It's kind of a cross between a P and a jazz, which is weird because it's a 60s style bass. You'd think they'd give it a massive kind of baseball classic precision style neck, as it's called, the classic vibe, and it's going for that vibe. But it's actually much more comfortable, and that's what made me actually buy that bass over the Fender Player series. So we're going to give the Squire, we're going to give it a 4. It's still not quite like a modern C shape like I would really like, but it's definitely the best feeling out of the three in my opinion. The SX feels fantastic. It is wider than the Squire, but it gets slim as it goes down, and I still don't notice it when I play. It feels really, 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 really nice. So that is going to get a 3. Next up is the Ibanez. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with this neck. It feels great. It's really fast, but I almost feel like it gets thicker as it not wider. It gets thicker as it goes down. So my hand is kind of arching over. I mentioned this in my previous video. And when you're looking at it, it does look like it kind of has this kind of shape to it, which is very odd. Or if not, it's exactly straight, you know, giving it a bit of that. I'm going to give it a 3. Hardware. Now, what do I mean by hardware? Hardware. Tuners, the bridge, and any other kind of metal components like the knobs and things like that. That's what I'm thinking about. Squire, 4. I'm not going to give it a 5 out of 5 because I think maybe the bridge could be better. The machine heads, sometimes they get a bit tight, but very rare, and tuning stability is absolutely perfect. So we're going to give that 4. SX. Now, this is where the SX, I think, fell down because the machine heads, not very good, and the bridge, I think, could do with upgrading certainly as well. I've actually already upgraded the machine heads on there, but I haven't yet touched the bridge because after I did a bit of setup, it was okay, so I haven't had the need for that yet. The SX, we're going to give a 3. The Ibanez, machine heads and the bridge feel really, really good quality. And the knobs themselves, the way that it's got the notches and it turns, yeah, we'll give it a 4. We'll get on to more of that in a minute. Next up, electronics. Squire, we're going to go with a 4. Sometimes the jack comes a little bit loose from taking it in and out and sticking it in and out. Apart from that, I've had no issues. So the SX feels good, but the pickups are a little bit noisy. Definitely noisier than even the stock pickups in the Squire. So I'm going to give it a 3. Electronics for the Ibanez, 1. We're going to give it a 1 because I don't like the active preamp on board. For all of the clips, I had it completely flat, so it was more of a fair test. And I just think it's an unnecessary thing that they've spent money on here, Ibanez. I think that they should have invested more in just better pickups. Also, you would have seen in my video that I snapped off the volume knob, and that wasn't from any kind of insane pressure that I put on it. So I don't think that they're very good quality. So we're going for a 1. Next up is fit and fiddle. Fit and finish, for those who don't know, we're looking at the finish of the actual guitar itself, so the colour, how well the paint job is done, and also things like fret edges. Is it painful to move up and down? What's the nut like? Is that very sharp? All 3 of these, fit and finish, I think is really good. And the camera ran out of battery. Okay, what was I saying? The SX, when you look at that finish, that blue sparkle, oh, damn! It's so nice. The fret edges as well, I have zero issues with. So we're going to do it. It's getting a 5. The Squire fit and finish, absolutely no issues there. The fret edges are really good. I wouldn't say they're as good as the SX, so we're going to give it a 4. Last and least is the Ibanez. The fit and finish, fret edges, no issues whatsoever. The finish itself, I really like the tri-fade burst, but when I first opened it, I wasn't that impressed. It kind of looked a little bit greenish. Hence why, though, it really suits the mint green pickguard, which I've now put on there. So now it looks beautiful. But fit and finish stock, I'm gonna give it a 3. Modding platform. So this category is how easy is it to get some parts or to mod it and do things like that. The Squire wins here because it's probably the most common out of these 3. Certainly for parts and interchangeable bits with Fender items perhaps and upgrading, so that's going to be your best bet. Next up, I think we're going to give that a 5. Next up, we're going to give the SX a 4 because it is the precision based style, closer than the TALMAN. It's going to be easier to get kind of replacement parts and upgrade things. But that doesn't mean the Ibanez is bad for it. Of course, you can do anything to this. I've got a friend who's upgraded his TALMAN to the nth degree, and now it is a sexy tone machine. We're going to give the TALMAN a 4 as well, because they're all decent mod platforms. What people say is it a good mod platform. Can I simply upgrade things, and can it then be turned into an okay bass, into a great bass by some simple and affordable steps? Okay, next is wood. I know wood makes a difference, and you can certainly feel it when you're playing acoustically, how it sustains and how the vibrations are moving through the wood. So I know wood makes a difference, but I don't know much about wood. I'm going to go based on feel. I think the Ibanez might win here. The Ibanez we're going to give a 4. The SX we're going to give a 4. And the Squire is really light. It's definitely the lightest out of the 3, but does that pay off? Maybe not when the acoustic feels. So I'm going to give that a 3. Now, I said that about it being the lightest, and that was bad for the acoustic of the tone wood, but it breaks your back less. So, weight, we're going to give the Squire a 5. It is super light. Next up, we're going to give the SX a 4 and the Ibanez a 4. They're quite similar weights, and the Ibanez obviously has that active preamp on board as well as an extra pickup. We have arguably the most important category, which is sexiness. Should I be judging this on stock or not? Who knows? Okay, Squire, we're going to go with a 4. SX, we're going to go with a 4. Ibanez, now this is a tough one. I kind of really dig the body shape and the headstock as well. It feels almost like a short scale, like it looks a bit like a short scale, but it's not. And that's because of the shortened headstock. I don't know. We're going to give it a 4. Okay, last but not least is the price. Now, this is obviously going to be the Squire. We're going to give 2 price because it is the most expensive, but it's still not outrageously expensive. The SX, we're going to give a 5 because it is the cheapest, and close to that, we're going to give the Ibanez a 4 because it's the middle ground, but it's only £60 more than the SX and nearly £120 cheaper than the Squire. Now, I got an A in Maths GCSE, and that is coming in handy right now as I'm going to add these up and let you know which bass is the best value for money. But before we do that, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more content, and leave me a comment down below of which bass you would buy out of these 3 and why. No! You know when you're recording a video as you do, and then you realise that, yeah, the computer's overloaded and it stopped recording your microphone. Results are in no particular order, but in the order of loser to winner. We've got in 3rd place the Ibanez TMB 100. Fantastic feeling bass and looking bass after a quick modification, but I think it is the worst out of the three. Second place, drum roll, the SX, an all-round brilliant bass, insane value for money in terms of feel and sound. Some of the components do let it down a bit, which is why in the first place, kind of unsurprisingly, as it is the most expensive out of the three by quite a long mile, is the Squier Classic 5. Now, here you are getting such a quality instrument, even completely stock. In conclusion then, I think it's fair to say that the best value bass is the SX. It was so close to hitting that first place spot, and it is the cheapest by a long mile. How much? My A in GCSE Maths is coming into play at last. It's £179 cheaper than the Squier. So if you're after a workhorse, affordable bass that you can knock around a little bit, sound good, and maybe you could mod, definitely go for the SX. So there you have it. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about this video and what you want to see in the future. I noticed that since selling my jazz bass, I really want another jazz bass. I've been a bit light on content for jazz basses, so maybe leave a recommendation for what branded jazz bass copies or maybe some cheap Squiers or Fenders that I should be checking out. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.